Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel. Peter likes books, because I love them, I do. But Peter Loves Books, I think, was taken when I was trying to do a YouTube channel, or it was taken on Twitter or Goodreads, or was it taken on, no, it wouldn't have been Goodreads. It was taken somewhere, so I ended up being Peter Likes Books, which I love that title. So anyway, today we are going to read The Before, Now, and After Then by Peter Monn, that's me, and read by me. Read by Peter Monn. I thought I would give you guys a little update before I do, though, on what I'm reading and stuff. And I'm going to do a video one of these days this week coming up about my March, like what I read, because I'm trying to do that at the end of each month, talking about all the books that I read the previous month, because I used to do that. And so I think I did it last month, and I'm going to do it this month. But anyway, I am currently reading Camino Island. I'm like literally whipping through audiobooks like every 2 to 3 days, like even probably less than 3 days. So I just finished Little Fires Everywhere, and I'll talk about that in some kind of review. I liked it. It was okay. It was good. It wasn't like everybody's going on and on and on about this book. I thought it was well done. It was enjoyable. It was fast paced. I liked it. I think on the heels of me reading right before that, Margaret Atwood's Handmaid's Tale, like that was such an intense book that I just was like, I don't know, like I want to read something else, you know, that's like really super intense. And we just started Handmaid's Tale, was it last night we started it? And we watched 3 episodes. We watched 2 and then I took a nap. And then when I watched the 3rd one, because my husband watched it while I was taking a nap, so I watched the 3rd one to catch up. It started getting really good. Before that, it was kind of slow. And now I am reading Camino Island by John Grisham. And I'm absolutely loving it. I had done this thing on here like months ago. I think it was last summer where I was going to do like 2 like, I don't know, like pop culture books or pop fiction books, you know. They actually talk about this in the book because it's all about books. Camino Island is all about these stolen books, these F. Scott Fitzgerald original manuscripts. And they talk about the difference between literary fiction and popular fiction. So I guess you would consider it popular fiction that you get at like the grocery store and whatever. But do you remember I was going to do like 2 books a month and that just kind of fell apart? So Camino Island was one of them. So I'm listening to it right now because the sequel is coming out on the 28th, I believe. And I want to read that. Camino Island is really, really good, you guys. I'm loving it. And then I was talking to my cousin, Caroline. She listens to a lot of audiobooks too. And we were talking about Where the Crawdads Sing, which has now become my #1 favorite book. I know, hard to believe. Like almost more, it's probably tied with To Kill a Mockingbird right there, but like it's fresher for me. So anyway, I was talking to her about that and she was like, have you read Educated? And I was like, no. I said, I've seen it like on, Goodreads, and I've seen it on Audible, but I thought it was like a self-help book or something. And she's like, oh no, it's an autobiography. And she's like, if you liked Where the Crawdads Sing, because she was the one that originally told me to read the book, she said, Educated will blow you away. She said, I've done like all this research after I read the book. She goes, it is so good. So I immediately downloaded Educated, and I think that's going to be the next book that I listen to on Audible once I finish Camino Island. So there is my reading right now. I'm also reading a couple different graphic novels over there, because I've had them sitting there forever. And yeah, so let's get into the book, The Before, Now, and After. That's what you're here for, I know. I got so many people yesterday that were like, you only read 2.5 chapters, you said 3. I'm like, okay, you guys, I am like talking on the phone a lot, like I am like making other videos throughout the day. So just bear with me if I can only do 2 chapters a day, okay? Anyway, I love that you guys even want to hear it. So it just means the world to me. And I actually right here, because I'm trying to keep hydrated so that when I talk, I don't like lose my voice. I have water. And then I also have coffee. I'm making like this, every day I make my special iced coffee in my Keurig. So anyway, I just added some more ice to it. Okay, now I'm set to go. How are you guys doing today? You having a good day? Okay, I'm ready to go. The rest of the day was not eventful. Rusty and I got a lot of attention as we held hands walking down the hallway, but nobody dared to say anything out of line. At lunch, several popular girls even came up to the table to tell us how adorable we were. Cheryl rolled her eyes and told them that she had claimed me first and that they needed to go find their own gay best friend. Rusty laughed, but I thought it was interesting how straight girls always wanted to be friends with gay guys. Would you like me if I wasn't gay? I asked her. Yeah, that's a stupid question, Cheryl said, sounding offended. No, I mean, would you still be my friend if I was straight? Cheryl looked at me confused. That's not a fair question. Yes, it is. You always talk about me as your gay friend. You always talk about me as your gay friend, like that's what's most important to you. Is that what you think? You think I just want to be your friend because you're gay? Cher asked with shock on her face. I don't know, I replied sheepishly. Cher pushed her tray in front of her and stood up. Fuck you, Danny. She yanked her bag from the table and took a few steps backward, never cutting eye contact with me as tears rolled down her face. That is the meanest thing anyone has ever said to me. She paused, shaking her head and holding the rest of her words inside before she stumbled off into the courtyard. I looked over at Rusty. Was that mean? His dark eyes were piercing mine as he took a bite from his Granny Smith apple. I'm so confused about what just happened. We finished our lunch and Rusty said goodbye as I headed to government. When I sat down next to Cher, she turned the other way. I'm sorry, seriously, I pleaded, but she wouldn't look at me. We were watching Mr. Smith Goes to Washington, which I'd seen with my dad about 50 times. I was starting to think that Creston High School didn't actually teach classes, they just showed movies. Halfway through the class, Cher handed me a note, folded tightly into an origami crane. I can never be mad at you, but that did hurt my feelings. I'll explain later. Love, the fabulous Cher. I smiled and tried to catch her attention, but she was busy in her purse, reapplying lipstick and checking her hair. I sometimes felt like Cher was in her own world, and she didn't really care or even realize what was going on around her. After class, she gave me a hug and acted like nothing was wrong. What are you talking about, she asked. I told you I couldn't be mad at you. This was a new, detached, or artificially sweetened version of Cher I'd never seen before. I have to go. Have fun with Rusty and call me later if you get a chance. On our way home, Rusty explained that we needed to go back to my house. For the surprise, he smirked. What is it, I asked. I can't tell you or it wouldn't be a surprise. Well, how about a hint, I begged. No hints, just fair play. Or no hints, just play fair. I didn't like surprises. In fact, on several of our combined surprise birthday parties, I had become so sick that Mom had to take me home while Sam stayed and enjoyed the party for both of us. I was starting to feel the same way, but didn't want to ruin Rusty's excitement. Once we got home, I pulled in and saw Mom and Alex standing in the driveway. Rusty leaned over and kissed me. See you in a little bit. Uncle Alex walked over and hugged him, and then Alex got into the car while Rusty and Mom got into her car. What's going on, I asked. I can't tell you. It's a secret, Alex said. A good one. Well, give me a hint. If I gave you a hint, that would suggest that I wanted you to guess and figure out what it is, which I don't. He motioned for me to take off. Just let Rusty do something nice for you. Now take me to Starbucks. I need some coffee. When we got to Starbucks, Alex ordered a venti iced coffee with 2 equals, and I ordered a cake batter frappuccino, a Starbucks secret menu drink Sam had found on the internet years before. We took our drinks to a table outside and sat down. Alex told me about his newest book, outlining the characters and telling me what had driven his idea. What gave you the idea for Suburban Wasteland? I asked. Although I had read the book several times, we had never actually talked about it. Alex sat back and put his feet on the wrought iron metal table. That's a loaded question. Why? Because not many people really know the true story behind the book, he said, staring intently at me. Will you tell me? I peeled the lid off my frappuccino. He closed his eyes and took a sip of his coffee. Sure, why not? And then he told me the real story behind Suburban Wasteland. He explained that he had a tough time growing up as a gay teenager who didn't know anybody else who was gay. All of my friends were girls. We were all total freaks, some of us with shaved heads, while others had blue hair. We believed in freedom and rebellion against anything normal, but inside, I was just dying to be normal. I just wanted to fall in love like everyone else in high school, go to prom, and live happily ever after. I laughed. I couldn't imagine Alex wanting a life so mundane for himself. Seriously? Seriously, Alex said. I just wanted to have the house with a picket fence and the husband to come home to at the end of the day. I don't think I was even conscious at the time of using the word husband, so I probably just thought it would be nice to have a boyfriend. Anyone. What happened, I asked. I met him. I found the guy I'd always dreamed of meeting, perfect in every way. He took another sip of his coffee. He had these gorgeous blue eyes and this amazing pale skin. That whole summer before I left for IU, we'd meet at Denny's to drink coffee and talk about politics, books, music, everything. We'd walk home and smoke cigarettes and make up dreams together about how our lives were going to be once we left this town and got away. We decided instead of going to college, we'd run away to San Francisco, where we could live openly and be ourselves. Alex looked over at me and smiled. And then one day, he told me he couldn't do it. He said, Alex, I just can't go that far away. It won't be any different there than it is here. And that was it. I sat up. And you never saw him again? If only life were that easy, he laughed. We saw each other all the time. It seemed like I'd run into him almost every time I came home from school. Of course, he had already moved on and found another boyfriend. It was too much and almost killed me. We both smiled as we watched an ice cream truck drive by, its cheap music insulting Alex's story. He looked back at me, and that's how I got the story for the book. I'm confused, I said, not really sure how this related to the downward spiral of Alex's characters in Suburban Wasteland. I wrote the story about our relationship and our friends. Everything about that was true, he paused. But I needed a way to put it all behind, to kill off that part of myself in a somewhat tragically romantic way. I thought if I made myself, or the main character Woody, kill himself, then my ex would read it and understand how bad he had hurt me. I just wanted him to understand. He started crying. Do you know it's my least favorite book I've ever written? I look back and think about how I've trivialized all of it for my own therapy. But you helped so many people come out, I said. Alex lit a cigarette. Did I? Sometimes I think I made it worse. What would have been so bad about writing a book about two gay guys who were in love and it just didn't work out? At least that would have been honest. Real knows real. I feel like I lied to my readers. There's a power in being honest at whatever cost. What happened to him? The boyfriend, I asked. Alex took a drag off his cigarette and winked. That's an even longer story. He looked at his watch and told me it was time to get back to the house. Your surprise should be waiting for you. We drove back to the house and found Mom's car parked in front with Dad's car parked next to it. A welcome home sign was draped above the front door. What's going on? Alex shrugged and acted like he was zipping his mouth shut. We got out of the car and walked inside where Mom, Dad, and Rusty were sitting in the kitchen. Welcome home, they said in unison. I laughed and looked at Rusty, confused. He stood up and walked over, giving me a hug. You're gonna like this, just go along with it, he said as he handed me a red heart cut out of construction paper. I looked down at it and read the words written on it with thick Sharpie. I've conjured up the Breakfast Club for you. It's a scavenger hunt, Mom said. An adventure, Dad added. I looked at the heart again and instantly figured it out. I walked over the television and found another heart taped on top waiting for me. You made me dive into love. I looked at Rusty and smiled, running outside and down to the pool, with Rusty close behind me. When I reached the diving board, I found another heart. As much as I love playing cheese, it doesn't hold a candle to you. I looked at Rusty, confused. Think about it, he said, rubbing his stomach. I ran back up the walk to the house and found the empty pizza box from the night before on the kitchen counter. I opened the box and found another heart. When you fall asleep at night, only think of me. I smiled and ran upstairs. This time everyone followed me. I found one more heart taped to my bedroom door. Welcome home, it said. I opened the door and at first I didn't see it. The room was completely dark. I flicked on the light and saw a box sitting on the edge of my bed. Something was moving inside of it. I walked over and looked inside. Peering up at me was the smallest, fluffiest puppy I had ever seen. His white, black, and brown fur blended together like an ice cream sundae, all coming together on top in a tiny mohawk, making him look like no dog I had ever seen before. He yawned, sounding like he was trying to speak in a high-pitched voice. I turned around and looked at Rusty. Seriously? Seriously. Mom walked in and put her arm around me as I sat down on the edge of the bed, letting the little dog walk into my hand. Rusty thought you needed a new dog, and Dad and I agreed. We think it's time. Rusty kissed my cheek. I hope you like him. I love him, I said as I started to cry. What are you going to call him? Dad asked. I set him down on the bed and watched him walk around, getting his bearings. Boo, I said. Boo Radley. We spent the rest of the night playing with Boo. Later in the evening, Mom took me and Rusty to the store to buy him a bed, toys, and some bones, although he was too small to chew most of the bones. When it was past 11, Mom told me it was time to take Rusty home. I think one sleepover a week is enough. And you guys had 1.5. On the drive home, Rusty held Boo, letting him nibble on his finger. Maybe he could be our dog, I said. Do you mean like our child? Rusty laughed. Yeah, kind of. I want him to be yours. You deserve to have something that's your own, Rusty said, slowly petting Boo. I smiled, but somehow it hurt a little bit. When we got to Rusty's house, he showed Boo to his mom and Carlos. In choppy English, his mom told me to thank Mom for talking to the school. In choppy English, his mom told me to thank Mom for talking to the school. I don't understand why Rusty always has to fight. At every school, he always fights. She turned to Rusty and started crying. You promised, Rusty. You promised. I know, Mama, he said, and then they elapsed into a heated conversation in Spanish. I wondered what Mom had told her on the phone. Obviously, she hadn't told her the whole story. Some parents aren't ready to hear the truth of what their children have to deal with on a daily basis. After a few minutes, Rusty's mom calmed down, sitting with Carlos in front of the television while he watched a cartoon in Spanish. Will she be okay? I asked. Yeah, she'll be fine. She just worries about me. Rusty walked me outside and kissed me and Boo goodnight. On the way home, Boo fell asleep in my lap, and I felt happier than I had felt in a long time. Pulling to the driveway, I stopped and looked at the moon over the lake. It was another halo moon. I took a picture of it and texted it to Rusty with the message, "Beware of the halo moon." He texted me back seconds later, "Watch out for the doom and gloom." I laughed and walked inside. Mom and Alex played with Boo while I got ready for bed and finished some homework. When I was ready for bed, I went downstairs and got Boo. He yawned, making a high-pitched squeaky noise. "I'm tired too, little guy," I said as I gave him a little scratch under his chin. Since it was Boo's first night with us, I wanted his bed to be as close to mine as possible and decided it belonged beside me on the floor. Scanning over my room, which was slowly filling with more personal items, my eyes fell into the Celia Cruz album Rusty had bought for me. I wanted to remember that day, that moment, the happiness he was bringing back into my life. Pulling the push pins from my drawer, I tacked the album above my bed where it could be front and center, always in view. I stood back, making sure it was straight and properly aligned, and then decided the album should be flanked by the heart clues he had left earlier. I pinned them around the album in a half circle and then stood back to take in my work. It looked perfect. I smiled and climbed into bed. My phone buzzed and I read the text from Rusty. "Good night, I love you," he said, with an attached picture of him shirtless in bed. I held Boo close to me and took a picture of us both and sent it to him. "We miss you and love you too." "Pick me up for school in the morning," he typed. "Of course. 6:35. Picking Boo up from the floor, I got into bed and snuggled my nose into his puppy smell, falling fast asleep with his little heartbeat in my hand. Chapter 22. That was a long chapter, 16 minutes, and it was only half of a chapter. Chapter 22. The next day at school, Cheryl didn't meet me at my locker. When I got to English, she still wasn't there. I texted her, but didn't get a response. I still couldn't find her by lunchtime, and it was obvious she wasn't in school. I texted her a few more times, but she never responded. "What's wrong?" Rusty asked. "I'm worried about Cher. She's not here today, and she's not texting me back. Yesterday, she was acting so weird." "She's probably just sick," Rusty said, as he bit into a piece of cheese pizza. "Probably." I texted her one more time, telling her if I didn't hear from her by the end of school, I was coming over to her house. After school, Rusty said he needed to get home to help with his sister, so I dropped him off and drove over to Cher's house. Her mom's car was parked out front, so I got out and walked up to the door and knocked. At first, no one answered, but I could hear the television on inside, and I knocked again. Finally, Cher came to the door, barefoot, in an old pair of men's striped boxer shorts and an oversized flannel shirt. Her hair was a complete mess, and she looked like she had just woken up. "Yes?" she said. "Hey, I didn't hear from you, and I was worried." Cher stood by the side of the door, but didn't ask me to come inside. "I'm fine." "Who is it?" Cher's mom shouted from the other side of the door. Cher rolled her eyes. "It's Danny, Mom." She walked outside and closed the door behind her. She sat down on the swing and ran her fingers through her hair. "Are you okay?" I asked. "I'm dying for a cigarette," she said, tapping her fingers on the wood of the swing. Do you want me to get your cigarettes?" She shook her head. "I can't smoke." "I can take you somewhere if you don't want your mom to get mad at you for smoking." "I can't smoke," she said again, looking me dead in the eyes. I was confused. "I can't smoke, don't you get it?" But I didn't. Cher grabbed her face with both of her hands and rubbed her face. "I'm pregnant." "What?" I asked, unsure of what I had just heard. "I'm pregnant," she shouted. "Pregnant as in with child. Fuck, screwed." She was sobbing. "I'm so fucked." "I don't understand," I whispered, trying to get her to lower her voice. "What don't you understand? I'm pregnant," she said, shaking her head. "I can't believe this is happening to me." "Is it Henry's?" I asked, still in shock. She turned and looked at me. "What kind of slut do you think I am? Of course it's Henry's." She laughed at herself, shaking her head. "I'm sorry," I said. "For what?" she asked. "I don't know." "Yeah, I'm sorry too. But hey, at least you'll get to be an uncle. We'll call you Gunkle Danny, the gay uncle." "So you're going to keep it?" She nodded. "I've kind of thought I might be pregnant for the last few weeks. I'm normally late anyway, but this time I was really late. I finally told my mom yesterday, and we went to the doctor and got tested. I'm already 3 months pregnant." I didn't know what to say. None of the words in my head sounded right. "Are you sure you want to keep it?" Even if I wasn't already 3 months pregnant, I still wouldn't have an abortion, and it's not because of some crazy religious beliefs. I just couldn't do that. And I can't give it up for adoption. I couldn't live and know it was out there somewhere. She shook my hand. "Look, I don't get good grades, so let's be for real. It's not like I'm going to go to college. The best I'm going to do is either run away and chase my dreams or stay here and figure it out. And I don't want to leave my mom, so maybe this is the best thing that's happened to me." "What did your mom say?" I asked. "She's actually being really cool about it. She said I could withdraw from school if I wanted, but I don't think I want to do that." She sighed. "I just have so many things I have to figure out." "Did you tell Henry yet?" "No, and I'm not sure when or how I'm going to do that. She tapped her finger on the side of the swing. That's one of the things I have to figure out. Cheryl didn't say much after that. We just sat there swinging and watching the kids cross the street, trying to get cars to stop at their lemonade stand. Doesn't it feel like we grow up really fast? One minute we're playing in our front yard and the next minute we're all grown up. She didn't say anything after that for a long time. She just swung and stared at the kids. Come on, she said, taking my hand. Let's go get some lemonade. We walked down the driveway and crossed the street, buying huge glasses of lemonade from the kids. Cheryl gave each kid a dollar, and they told us we could have free refills. She smiled and took my hand. Let's just walk for a while. Cheryl asked me about Rusty, and I caught her up on everything that had happened with the scavenger hunt and me getting Boo. She laughed, and for a moment she seemed like the old Cher. We waved to people who were watering their lawns and people we passed on the sidewalk. And even though I hadn't grown up in her neighborhood, those streets seemed like my home that afternoon. We walked up and down the street for over an hour until I got a text from Mom asking me to come home for dinner. I walked her back to her house and hugged her before I left her alone in the swing. Thanks for being such a good friend, she said, and I smiled, thinking I hadn't really done much at all. I waved as I drove off, watching her push herself back and forth on the swing with her bare feet. When I got home, Mom was sitting in the kitchen waiting for me. She was dressed in a nice black blouse and skirt. I thought we could go out to dinner, just the two of us. Okay, I said, turning to walk upstairs and get ready. By the way, you missed your appointment with Neil today. I turned around. Oh shit, seriously, Mom, I totally forgot. Seriously, Mom, I totally forgot. You meet with him every Thursday. How could you forget? She asked. I shook my head. I don't know, I just did. I've never missed before. Mom thought about this for a minute and then smiled and nodded. Why don't you go upstairs and check on Boo and get ready? Upstairs, I found Boo had chewed up an entire pack of blackjack gum that Rusty had left me the night before. After I cleaned up the mess and the wrappers, I put Boo back in his bed and told him to stay put, realizing this was ridiculous and that I needed to get him a crate. I thought about keeping him in his box, but that felt mean, so I made sure there was nothing he could get into and started to get ready. I pulled out a pair of khaki pants and a blue polo, changing quickly before walking downstairs. Mom thought it would be fun if we tried something new, and she decided on an Indian restaurant called the Tree House that she had heard about from friends. The place had this ginormous tree trunk sprouting roots in the middle of the restaurant. We sat on cushions on the floor at a low table in the corner. I had never had Indian food before, so I let Mom order. She quickly chose samosas, chicken masala, and saag paneer. We didn't talk until the waiter brought us our water. Are you doing okay, Mom asked. Yes, are you doing okay? I'm good. Well, as good as I can be, given the circumstances, pending divorce and all, she said. Do you think you and Dad might work things out, I asked. Mom shook her head. There are just some things you can't work past, Danny. I really wish I could, and maybe if it hadn't all happened at the same time, it would be possible, but I just don't think so. I think maybe your dad and I are just better apart. But it's not like you guys even tried, I said. What do you mean, we tried, she said, confusion filling her eyes. No, you didn't. Sam died and you moved out and then we got the house. You guys never went to counseling or anything. There are some things counseling can't fix, Mom laughed. Then why do I have to go? Mom put her glass down on the table. We just want to make sure you're okay. Have you ever thought that maybe it's the two of you who aren't okay? Maybe you should stop focusing your attention on me and take a look at yourselves. Mom thought about this for a second. I'm willing to try counseling if you think it would help me. Good, then schedule an appointment with Neil, I urged. Mom laughed, almost spitting water out across the table. Not Neil. Why not? You're the one who thinks so highly of him. Why wouldn't he be good for you? Mom dismissed the idea with her hand. Let's talk about you. Are you doing okay? You already asked me that. She nodded and rolled her eyes. True, I just want to make sure you're really okay. What are you really asking me, I asked. Do you think you're rushing things with Rusty? No. Danny, it's been less than a week and already you boys are telling each other you love each other? So? I wondered where this was going. I just think it's really fast. The waiter brought our food and Mom was silent until he walked away. I just don't want you to get hurt, she whispered. The smell of the food was incredible, even if it was being ruined by Mom's intentioned conversation. Can I ask you a question? Absolutely, she said. When Sam and Jess met and started dating, did you have this conversation with him? Mom sat back and thought about it. I don't think so. But he and Jess were in an exclusive relationship within 2 days of meeting. I stated it as a fact, not a question. That can't be true, Mom said as she spooned some of the rich chicken dish onto her plate. Mom, listen to me. She looked up from her plate and stared across the table at me. Can we please have this conversation and then eat? I want to get it over with so I can enjoy time with my mom. She smiled and crossed her arms. Go ahead. Sam and Jess met at a party and hooked up. 2 days later, he told me he was in love with her. She came over to our house every day for the next year. No one said anything about it. You and Dad just acted like she was part of the family. She was part of the family, and I'm happy Sam was able to experience that in his short life, she replied as tears welled up in her eyes. Well, what if I was gone next week? Would you want the same for me, I asked. That is not fair, Danny. How could you even ask me that? Mom looked around her, realizing she had raised her voice. I'm just concerned that you're rushing everything. You just came out, and now you're in love. Just because I recently came out to you doesn't mean that I just realized I was gay. You think I just woke up one day and I realized it? It doesn't work that way. Maybe you're the one who needs to be talking to Uncle Alex. Maybe, she laughed. I just don't understand why it has to be different. Because I'm gay. I don't want it to be different. I just want you and Dad to treat me the same way. I just want you and Dad to treat me the same way you would have treated Sam. But you're not Sam, she said, and something in her voice sounded like fear. I sat back and looked at her. I'm sorry, I didn't mean. No, you're right. I'm not Sam, and I never will be. I took a sip of water. Do you have any idea how hard it is to be the twin who's left behind? Don't you think I go over that day in my head over and over again, wishing he had just stayed and never left to go to the park? Did you know that it was his idea? All of it. The whole scheme was his idea, and I just went along with it because I trusted Sam so much with everything. All of my life, I followed his lead because everything he planned turned out perfect. But this time, it didn't. I wish like hell I could go back to that day and tell him no, but I went along with it, and I can't take it back. I realized I was crying and tears streamed down my cheeks. And I'm tired of people watching over me and being worried about me because Sam is gone. If you learned anything, you should have learned that life is short. Let me be happy. I just want to be me, and even though I don't know who that is, no one will let me figure it out. I stood up and stormed out of the restaurant. Mom ran after me into the parking lot. I didn't know, Danny. I never knew it was like that for you. I never knew it was like that. It was like that for you. How could you not? I cried. I've never had any friends of my own. I've never had anything of my own. And now that I have Rusty, you want to take him away. No, I don't. That's not true at all. Then why is it such a big deal to you if I fall in love in a day or a week or a year? Why does time matter so much to you? Mom stopped and covered her mouth. Now she was sobbing. She walked over to me slowly and hugged me hard. Because I know now how important time is. Once you start taking time for granted, it's stolen from you. You think you have all the time in the world, and then it's all gone. We stayed like that for a long time, hugging in the parking lot. Finally, Mom stood back and wiped away the tears from under her eyes. But I'd rather you live a short life and be happy than live forever and be miserable. I am happy, Mom. And Rusty makes me happy, I cried. Then Rusty makes me happy too, she said. Don't just say that because you think it's the cool parent thing to say. Don't just say that because you think that's the cool parent thing to say it. I'm saying it because it's true. She kissed my cheek and walked inside to pay the bill. While she was gone, she kissed my cheek and walked inside to pay the bill. While she was gone, I thought about what she had said about the importance of time, and I wondered if it really mattered that much. No one knew when they would die. No one knew how much time they had left on Earth. And even though I had heard people say to live each day as if it were your last, I knew that was impossible, because how could you be that conscious of each action? And then I realized that maybe time didn't matter at all. Maybe it was those moments unmeasured by time that mattered the most. And I'm going to stop there because I'm almost at 30 minutes and I'm losing my voice. So let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. I love you and I will see you tomorrow. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope you're staying sane. I love you. Bye.